What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV, aka Darth Apocalypse. All right, so before I get into this video, shout out to the brother Giovanni Giles for the donation to the channel via the PayPal. And he left a message, and his note in the message, his message in the note, excuse me, is I'm convinced now that Jayson Tatum was behind Jaylen Brown being traded. Well, I'll tell you one thing. The evidence now that we know what he said at that basketball training camp, and you have to be a fool to believe that that wasn't aimed at Jaylen Brown. Now it's the gloves are off. He was quiet during the whole saga. Well, the media, or certain people in the media speaking negatively of Jaylen Brown, saying that he's overrated as a basketball player, making the incredulous statements that he's, according to analytics, the seventh best player on any roster, which is ridiculous. This ridiculous statement to make. Saying Derek White was more valuable than him. And, you know, I don't want to sit here and say that it was just Jayson Tatum. I think the problem that Jaylen Brown has is that organizations, executives, they would rather have certain people to deal with. They like people who, they like certain personalities. They like people who, especially if you're of African American persuasion, they like somebody that's more like, for what I could tell, I don't know the man, I could be wrong, but they like somebody more like a Michael Conley Jr. Okay, I think that's I think it's Junior, right? I could be wrong, but they like somebody like Michael Conley, who I've heard is, let's, for lack of a better term, let's borrow Kwame Brown's phrase, go along, get along type guy. Okay, he's kind of like in that, right? And it's worked well for him. In his prime, he was getting overpaid. Let's be honest. He was getting overpaid by the Grizzlies organization. And he's likable by organizations. And as a consequence of that, if you notice, despite the fact that he's clearly not one of the best players in the NBA, he keeps getting hired, right? As a matter of fact, didn't he just sign with Philly? What team was it that he just signed with? Let me look something up right quick. Who did Mike Conley just sign with? I know he just signed with somebody for his 20th season in the league. Oh, no. He went back to Minnesota. No. He's with Boston. He's with Boston. Yeah, so he's with Boston, which emphasizes my point even better. Certain players they don't like Jaylen Browns. They don't like Jaylen Browns in general. And it's not a knock on him. He just makes certain people uncomfortable. These people don't like people like Jaylen Brown to challenge them or to speak to them in a way in which you make them feel uneasy. I mean, because when you look at it right now, there's a whole movement going on right now for people like me to make others feel more comfortable. Fuck how I feel. You get to say whatever you want to say about me and stereotypes and all that. I got to grin and take it. I got to put on a shit-eating grin to make you feel better, though you get to espouse whatever the fuck you feel because you're just telling it like it is. But if I bring up something that's factually accurate and it hurts your feelings, then I'm the bad guy. And that's how it works in this country. So when Jaylen Brown talks about economic inequality in Boston and bringing back Black Wall Street, well, that makes certain people uneasy. They say you're just a basketball player. What are you doing? You're not a. You don't get paid to be an activist. But see, even though we champion people like Bill Russell after the fact for shit they did during the civil rights era, back then they were saying the same thing about Bill Russell. Ninja, you just play basketball. You don't get paid to go out here and march in these, to march and protest in this country that's giving you so much. They were saying the same things to Bill Russell. So a lot of it, the establishment doesn't like a guy like Jaylen Brown. So they'll be more than willing to move a guy like Jaylen Brown if they feel that he's expendable enough. So it also helps when your perceived star player, Jayson Tatum, for whatever reason, seems to have grown envious of Jaylen Brown. See, Jaylen Brown was used to deferring to Jayson Tatum. That's what the big problem was. I suspect with Jayson Tatum, he didn't like that Jaylen Brown was voted Finals MVP in 2024. I don't think he liked that. And I think it hurt his ego when he was out with an Achilles rupture, but Boston still won 56 games without him. Now, mind you, this isn't a situation like Michael Jordan where Jordan elevates a team that would have won 50 games anyway to 72. No. This is a team that routinely wins maybe 58, 59, 60 wins anyway. And without Tatum, they won 56 games. So I ask you, who's the one that's overrated? Now, I do think that pound for pound, Tatum is better than Jaylen Brown offensively and all around, but I do think that Brown shortens that gap or narrows that gap with his defensive ability. Although Tatum's good on defense too. But whatever the case may be, Jaylen Brown proved the doubters wrong this year. And they didn't want to give him that. And they were looking for anything to attach to Jaylen Brown to make him a bad guy. And that was what they did when they kept taking out of context what he said about this season after they blew that 3-1 lead. Because it's funny, everybody else usually blames the black head coach, Doc Rivers. Oh, he blew a 3-1 lead. They did it with Joe Mazzulla. As I said before, maybe because they see how jacked Joe Mazzulla is underneath that goddamn that Boston Celtics sweater, and they don't want no problems with him. They don't want to get on his bad side. He come fuck somebody up. So they're gonna they put the whole smoke on Jaylen Brown, man. And Jayson Tatum also realized that Jaylen Brown was getting tired of deferring to him. He wanted to be an equal partner. And Jayson Tatum didn't want that. He wanted to be the man in Boston. These guys have egos, man. The biggest evidence that Jayson Tatum was agreeing with all that shit is that he was totally silent during that whole time. And Steven Smith made a good point. Why is it that Jayson Tatum never appeared on Jaylen Brown's podcast? Never. Then after he's traded, you say what you say, which is an obvious dig on Brown. So, I mean, it is what it is, man. Like I said, I'm torn about Philly, man, because I like Jaylen Brown, but he got you know who on that damn team, man. So it's like I can't root for him. It's hard. Then again, I do root for him, but it's like it's hard, man. It's hard right now. But y'all know how we gonna do. We gonna give credit where credit's due, and we gonna put the blame and aside the blame where it belongs, because we know what the La Media does. But yeah, Jason Tatum did this shit, man. Jason Tatum, I think, largely played a role in this situation, and we gonna hold him accountable on this channel. Since you the man, since that's your team, we gonna hold you accountable like you're a superstar. I don't want to hear shit about Jaylen Brown not being there no more. If Boston loses and they 500, I don't want to hear shit about Jaylen Brown not being there because this is supposed to be his team. That's all I've been hearing from Jason Tatum fans. He's clearly the superior player. So, motherfucker, I want to see you play MVP basketball. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. So, we'll see, man. Tell me what you guys think.
TV.